Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the BettingPros NFL podcast. I'm your host, Dan Harris. With me, of course, is Matt Peralt. You can find us on Twitter at DanHarris80 and at Sports Talk Matt. Matt, what's going on?
I am ready to go here. I feel a 5-0 coming in the DraftKings. I like the slate. I'm hot and ready to go today.
All right. You are hot. That is true. I hate this slate. So this is going to be very interesting as we talk through it. What did you do in the Circa, by the way? How did you go in the Circa?
3-2.
3-2. Okay.
I'm 5-5 in both contests.
All right. So yeah, let's recap where we are in the DK contest before we get in. We are 5-5. We were 2-3 last week. We had the Eagles getting 1.5 from the Rams. It was a terrible loss. We had the Vikings getting 3.5 from the Colts. That was an even worse loss. And to be clear, that was the one that I really liked. We did hit on the Cards giving 6.5 to Washington. We took two other games, which were the Raiders getting 5.5 from the Saints and the Cowboys laying 4.5 to the Falcons. I told you on the show to make sure to follow us on Twitter, again, at DanHarris80, at Sports Talk Matt, because it's early in the week. We want to talk through it. That was on Wednesday night, by the way. We're going to be doing this on Thursday night from now on going forward, just so we can make sure we have as much information as possible. I said to follow us because we might change. We did change. We moved off those two bets. So we moved off two bets that we would have gone 1-1 on. Yep. Not a huge deal, Matt. I mean, I think we both just sort of felt like, especially where you are in Vegas, it was just so much money. So all the public was just running in, of course, to back the Raiders in that first game. We just kind of
What's so funny about that, though, is that, and this is where I need to be careful, okay? That is true, except for everywhere outside of Nevada.
Correct.
And I didn't know that because I'm in literally my Vegas bubble, right?
Right.
So in the Vegas bubble, it was like, oh my God, the line crashed in Vegas. It closed at 3.5.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous. That freaked me out by that. But everywhere else, it was 80% of the money on the Saints. So that was my bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, it doesn't matter. And I liked the Cowboys. But what's funny is that Matt and I talk anyway just about this stuff. And he's in the Circa with a partner. And he was taking the other side of that game. He had the Falcons, which, turned out to be correct. So I was like, I don't feel that strongly about it. Let's think more about it. And so we moved off that. We went to the Panthers getting 9.5 against the Bucs for one of them, which was close. I don't know, man. I mean, it very easily could have covered, but they didn't. So that's where that was. But we also moved. What was the other game that we moved to that we hit on, Matt? Why am I drawing a blank now?
The game we hit on was, I'm blanking on it.
Oh, the Ravens.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes.
The Ravens laying 7.5. By the way, Matt is always just a Ravens. And Matt said you talked to a bookmaker or somebody who said they would bet that all the way up to 10.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we were like, all right, that sounds good to me. And again, laying on the Ravens here early because the Ravens play to rip your heart out. They don't just play to barely cover the spread, barely win. They play to rip your heart out. So again, really a distinction without difference. We went 2-3. We're 5-5 overall. So that's not good. But the good news, at least in the DraftKings contest, is it was a bad week for everyone. 24% of participants took the Chiefs laying 8.5 to the Chargers. 21% were on the Vikings with us. 40% were on the Eagles, as Matt and I talked about. I messaged Matt on the live stream that Matt does, which you should be tuning into, youtube.com/bettingpros every Sunday morning, Eastern, 11 a.m. to noon. So that's 8 to 9 where Matt is. He goes through the slate. And I'm going to be popping in and I'll write him questions, everything like that. 40% were on the Eagles and 21% were on the Jets against the Niners. You should not be on the Jets against anyone ever. So everybody took a bet. Here we sit, 243rd out of 691. So that is not terrible. Two undefeated teams are still in the contest, but neither one of them made a pick last week. Remember, you can take 2 weeks off. For whatever reason, maybe they were like, man, I was really hot that first week.
Isn't that weird, though, in week 2?
Yes, it's very weird.
It's very weird to me. Like, I'm only like a family emergency or something. Like,
right.
It's a weird week to take off, especially after a 5-0 start. Why not keep rolling? You're clearly seeing the board clearly, so that's a weird deal.
There are two undefeated teams, but they're both 5-0. They're not 10-0. 4 teams have picked 9 out of 10 games correctly. That's it. Everybody else is 8 out of 10 or worse. So we're still right in the mix there. But here's what we're going to do for the show today. Usually what I do is I say, all right, Matt, let's go through the games. You give me your picks. You like, no, we're done with that. We're now going to go back and forth a little bit. Now, Matt loves some games this week. I'm like, all right, I kind of have a lean on, 4, maybe 5, but I'm really like one game, which I think we're both going to be on. But that's really it. Some of you have asked for player props. Matt, I don't know about you, like where I'm at DraftKings and especially in any of the online books, they're just not really out. PointsBet has these props that you can do that are, over under 50 yards rushing, over under 75 yards rushing at massive odds. I just think it's silly to do that.
Look, so I'll plug the live stream. That's what the live stream's for, okay?
Correct.
The live stream is going to be a player prop. I'm going to give you my picks on the Daily Juice. So you can hear my plays on Sunday for the Daily Juice. And chances are, unless there's like a gigantic crazy injury or a massive line swing, there's not going to be much change to my Daily Juice plays on Sunday morning heading into the Sunday morning live stream. But the player props will 100% be, that's where I'm going to give you the player props. So if you want the player props, live stream every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern on the BettingPros YouTube channel.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to be notified when Matt goes live, click the notification button. That'll let you know. But also, I do props because I do player projections because of fantasy. That's where I'm at. So I will message Matt. I'm not going to be on the live stream with Matt, but I will message Matt. Hold on. Yes? Okay, go ahead. This is my daughter.
Hi.
I don't know if Clinton will leave it in. My kids love to pop in on
my daughter will at some point. Trust me.
Yep. I look forward to it. This is something where mom has said, please go get me some stuff from the printer. You got it?
And the printer's in your room?
And the printer is in my office. Correct. Bye. Thanks, honey. Take it easy. Clinton,
leave that in. Our
producer,
in.
Please, feel free to leave it in. He knows. Everybody knows. Dan's kids crash the podcast live stream is like just a thing that we do. Anyway, yes, I'm not going to be on, but I will give Matt some of my player props that I like based on my projections so we can relay them there. All right. We've got to get into it. We've been talking a lot. But before we do, I'm just going to say I hope that Matt does not have a particularly strong lean on the Saints laying 3.5 to the Packers, because I do not. But if the line were instead, if either team scores a touchdown, you win $100, well, then I would take that, because that's what it is. If you go to bettingpros.com/betmgm, through that link, if you bet $1 on either team to win that game, you win $100 in free bets if either team scores a touchdown. Either way, you win the $100 in free bets. There is going to be a touchdown scored in that game. I can virtually guarantee it. You will win. This is available in New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, and West Virginia. Again, bettingpros.com/betmgm. Do not turn down free money. All right, Matt, start off. Don't say Saints and Packers to lead off here, okay?
That can't be your best bet. Giving you now. Am I giving you my most confident play or just one that I like?
And you know what, man? The world is your oyster. Whatever you want. I'm going to go with probably what I like the most to what I like the least. So if you want to start that way, or do whatever you want, it doesn't matter.
All right, the play that I'm the most confident on is the Patriots are going to kick the living daylights out of the Raiders.
Okay, so we're just to be clear, we'll talk about that very briefly, but that was also my most confident pick. So we're logging that in. But
they're going to absolutely wipe the field with the Raiders, and this is a classic spot for a young football team. Josh Jacobs wasn't at practice on Thursday. The Patriots are going to take away Darren Waller. Stephon Gilmore is furious after what happened with DK Metcalf eating his lunch. Yeah. If the Raiders score more than 14 points, I'm going to be shocked.
Ooh, all right. I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, this is a very classic. Belichick against the spread after a loss is miraculous. I mean, he's, obviously, if not the greatest coach of all time, one of. So he's mad. I mean, you look at the picture. The picture says it all, right? He looks like you did, right? I mean, he is not going to go to sleep until he fixes all these little things, which in a game, by the way, that the Patriots were, extremely close to winning.
One play.
One play, exactly. So I love that play too. I really think that this is something where you mentioned it. I think they're going to take away Waller because that's exactly what they do. I think they're going to stack the box and they're going to say, okay, go ahead. Beat us over the top, Derek Carr. And again, they're traveling east. Don't forget that. It's got all the hallmarks of a Patriots beatdown. So it is 5.5. It is the Matt Peraltism, but you're throwing it out right now. I will say one thing. On bettingpros.com, we have consensus lines. The consensus line is actually 5. So
it's going down.
Yeah. So why is that though?
Because the public is going to bet with their eyes off of Monday Night Football. Everyone's flush with money. Everyone watched the Raiders beat the Saints. Oh my gosh. BetMGM announced today that their number one liability for any team to win the Super Bowl are the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay.
Yeah.
They are the new Cleveland Browns. Fade, fade, fade.
Right. So if you look on bettingpros.com, which gives you the consensus lines, it also gives you lines at the various sportsbook. It's basically torn between 5 and 5.5. If you look, we have various experts from around the industry who make picks. New England is being picked with the spread right now at -5. So that's, at 83%. 83% of experts are taking them. It's just something where it's just it's the best game. It's the best game of the week in my
opinion. If the
opinion.
bookmakers could not have this game on the board, they'd take it down.
Yeah.
They just chalk it up. You just say, okay, we lost. Move on.
Okay. All right. So here's a game that I like, which here's where I get a little worried about this. In the classic sort of way you try to think about gambling, which is the buy low, sell high. Teams are, never as bad as they look, sort of, the last week where they get absolutely blown out. Teams are never as good as they look when they're really winning. I thought that maybe with the Eagles last week, with the Rams. And again, that was the quote unquote sharp side. That's where the money came in. But for me, I'm going to take the Titans, and you can let me know, the Titans minus 2.5 in Minnesota. Now, if there were fans in Minnesota, I might be a little less confident on it. And this is a spot where you would say, well, I'm going to buy low on Minnesota right now, and I'm going to sell high. I mean, it's not like the Titans have looked that good. They barely squeaked by the Jaguars. They barely squeaked by the Broncos, although they should have won that game. They're probably going to be without A.J. Brown here still. But Minnesota and that defense right now, I don't know if they're quite this bad, that secondary, but I do know that as of right now, whether or not it's just because they're young and they're still getting their communication worked out, right now, they're terrible. They are absolutely terrible. Tennessee is incredibly well coached. I like Mike Zimmer as a coach, but he cannot figure this out this quickly with what he has. The fact that this is under a field goal for me, if it was over a field goal, I would be concerned. It's a key number 3, but at 2.5, that's probably the game. Other than the one game that I love is the Patriots. Other than that, that's the game that I like second most. So what do you think about that one?
I'm with you. It's on my list. And it is a square play, and it's going to be a number where it opened at 1.5. It's been bet to 2.5. I think by the time we get the kickoff, it may be 3. Yep. But being under 3 is a key. So here's the number that everyone's talking about. If you're on Twitter, you've probably seen it a million times. Teams that are 0-2 against the spread heading into week 3, 0-2 against the spread, not 0-2 overall, 0-2 against the spread, are 22-7 against the number in week 3.
Yep.
So everyone's going to run around and say that, they're going to hammer. And this is one of those games that fit into that narrative, okay? So 0-2 against the spread, the Titans. The problem I've got with that is that trends don't mean really anything going into a game. It's all about matchups. It's not about trends. It's about how do teams match up against each other. The secondary for this Vikings team is just god-awful, and Terrible. It's really, really young. Yep. So you can't fix it overnight. The other problem is Kevin Stefanski, his offense is no longer there, and Kirk Cousins looks atrocious. So I don't know if you fix that in one game in 1 week, given that the Titans are not happy. They're 2-0, but they're not happy about the way things are going. I mean, they didn't cover last week. They won the game by 3, and it wasn't that great to kind of watch. It was like, oh my gosh, are they going to blow this against Jacksonville? So they almost wound up being 1-1. And then we know the kicking problems that we had on Monday night 2 weeks ago. So the Titans have a lot to play for here, and they're very angry about the way things are going. So you're right. Home field for the Vikings, always one of the biggest deals. But Pro Football Focus is rating this defense near the bottom of the entire NFL right now. So I'm taking the Titans here, minus 2.5. I think they just win the game. I'm with you. On under a field goal, let's take the Titans.
So there is one book out there. Again, you got the consensus lines. I see the book. Fox Bet is at 3 already. So I wouldn't be surprised if it moves there. And again, our experts, 75% of them as well, are going with the Titans, laying 2.5. That's what I think. This is what we talked about, Matt, at the beginning of the season, where A, lack of continuity, B, young team that's inexperienced. You need these preseason games were pretty critical to working out a lot of these issues, and they just don't have it. And there's no way they're going to work it out after how terrible they looked last week. So I like, and backing a team like the Titans, by the way, makes me just feel, because I'm so confident in the coaching staff, it just makes me feel like it's like a security blanket a little bit. I'm like, well, Vrabel's not going to go there, and they're not going to just be like, oh yeah, we're going to look past this team. It's not going to work that way. So, all right, you want to lock that one in then? Both of those two? Yeah. All right, very
Pats,
good. Go
Titans, those two.
Done. Okay. Go to your next one.
Chargers minus 6.5 against the Carolina Panthers. On paper, Carolina defensively is the worst defense in the NFL. Justin Herbert getting the start is a good thing for this team. I like Tyrod Taylor. Herbert is really, really interesting. I think this kid is going to cause a ton of problems. And here's the big issue. Yes, no, Derwin James is not there for the Chargers, but no run CMC. How are the Panthers going to score? I mean, it's all on Bridgewater now. And if you're going to have him back there, this is a pass rush. It's going to get up the field and get after Carolina. I'm laying less than a touchdown here. Chargers minus 6.5.
All right. So I would say that I lean in that direction. I don't absolutely love it. I agree, though, that the lack of CMC here, I'm surprised that this is under a touchdown. I really am. Herbert, I agree, surprising to me because I talked pretty poorly about Herbert, that, just in terms of what his value would be in his rookie season. You think about really last week, the fact that he did not know he was starting until legitimately the coin toss is insane. And he played really, really well. And I think he makes that offense better. My one worry here, and I think that CMC makes that Panthers offense much better. I think Mike Davis is a capable fill-in, not anywhere close to it, but they do have a lot of capable wide receivers in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, and they're going to get Curtis Samuel more involved. My worry here is maybe it was just because they were trying to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, but you saw what Anthony Lynn really desperately wants to do, which is run the ball as much as he possibly can. Joshua Kelly had 23 carries last week, and he's not even the primary ball handler. They could have probably put that game away if they were a little more adventurous. My worry here is that
interesting word, adventurous. Okay, all right. If Anthony Lynn had a backbone, you mean?
I'm being diplomatic, man.
Oh
what
gosh,
do you want?
Grow a pair.
So
Yikes.
I think that is the way, though, that he naturally wants to go. And yeah, it's under a touchdown, so that does certainly make it a little easier. But I'm still not convinced that they'd be beyond the backdoor cover in this game. Because I do think that even if they get ahead, they are the type of team that's just going to be like, we're just going to run the ball.
That Chargers defense, you're going to pass and throw that ball 40 times a game. That Charger defense is going to eat him. Bridgewater's going to be running for his life.
It is fair.
Their offensive line is not good. And they're on the road. I don't. Again, this is another game. Like, I don't know who scores more, Panthers or Raiders, but neither one scores much.
All right, so we're going to put that one in pencil on the list, but not a guarantee. Not a guarantee. There is no way you're going to like this next game. I'm just putting it out. By the way, I'm going to mention the consensus line is also 6.5, as it is in the DraftKings contest. 60% of our experts are picking the Chargers. So not overwhelming. Not that is the be all end all at all. I mean, we're going to pick what we want to pick, but that does favor your side. You're not going to like this, Matt. I'm going to warn you right now, especially since I also liked this team last week, and then we got off it because it was terrible. It's the Cowboys plus 4.5 in Seattle. Let me explain my reasoning. The Seahawks usually play close games. I mean, whether it's this year, whether it's not, I mean, they could have very easily lost that game in a game where, Russell Wilson threw a million touchdown passes. They let teams stay in the game. They're not great at covering the spread historically. I know that doesn't matter, but their defense is not great. The Falcons, which has a good offense, was able to score pretty much at will. The Patriots were able to score very well. And again, Newton threw for almost 400 yards. I mean, Julian Edelman, I think, set a career high in yardage. That doesn't usually happen when your defense is particularly strong. Now, Dallas isn't perfectly healthy. I think Tyron Smith sounds like he's going to play. I'm not 100% sure there. They are banged up on their defense. But the Seattle line doesn't get that much pressure. Like, they just don't. And I think you saw last week, as bad as Atlanta's offense is, Dallas has the ability to put up points, especially towards the end of the game, even if they're behind, pretty much at will when things are going right, considering they have Zeke, their big three wide receivers, even Dalton Schultz. So 4.5 to me, this game without fans. Again, with fans, different story to me, because I think Seattle really loses that home field advantage with that. But without fans, this strikes me as a game that should be closer to a field goal. So I imagine you hate this game, but go ahead and give your thoughts.
Gritting my teeth.
I can't.
You have the whole board. You could pick any game you want.
Yep.
And you want to fade Russ right now?
I mean, what
is he? What is he now? 75% completion percentage.
Russ is amazing. Russ is absolutely amazing.
You want to go into that? You want to go up against that guy right now with the way that they're throwing the football, with the way DK Metcalf is playing against a team that got lit up by the Falcons last week?
Okay, so maybe we should explain my pick because it's obviously not coming through. I'm not picking the Cowboys to win.
I'm picking them to lose by a field goal, but I think there's a good possibility that they just got the greatest, luckiest break in the history of sports. In Father Time and everything else comes back, your pendulum swings the other way, and they got every lucky break you could imagine, including some team deciding, Dan Quinn again deciding to throw up all over himself.
You don't have to try to recover onside kicks, man. I don't know why a team would think
I don't know why you can't touch it until 10 yards, right?
Correct.
When we're taught in Pop Warner, you can't touch that ball if you're the receiving team. Yep. So, I don't know how or why you'd want to go near this team. I credit the buy low factor with this because this is buying low on the Cowboys. It's just, my gosh, Russell Wilson.
All right. The over-under right now is 56. So that's an implied total for the Seahawks of what? 30?
I'm not debating the point that points are going to be scored.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not fading Russell Wilson. I know Russell Wilson is going to put up points. I'm more buying the Cowboys' ability to put up a ton of points to hang with this offense. But it's fine. This is a team that you and I do together. That's why we throw them out. So we can move that one to the side, just like we did with the Giants against the Bears last week. All right, my friend, go ahead. Start up with your next pick. Give it to me.
All right, I'm going back to the old... I'm 2-0 fading this team. I'm fading them again. Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Pro Football Focus, have a top 5 defense right now.
Yep.
They are crushing people. They are young, they are talented, and they blitz as much as anybody in football. This offensive line for the Houston Texans is god-awful. They're not going to be able to protect Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun can run around, okay? And he can move, he can pick up first downs with his legs. I get it. Incredible athlete. He has no one to pass to. This dude's got no help whatsoever. Big Ben's getting healthy. Him and Juju are starting to click. Lay the 4. Pittsburgh, -4.
It's actually 3.5 unless
Love it even more.
Unless I missed it. Let me check what it is. I thought
it was 4. No?
I don't know.
It's
you can
4
check.
in the circus. So
check what I messaged you, because I'll tell you, while I look up what it is in BettingPros for right now, for our consensus lines, the Steelers, which for whatever reason I can't find at the moment, give me a second. Steelers against the Texans are
3.5. Love it.
Yeah, it's 3.5, right?
Love
okay,
it.
Good. Sorry.
Even more.
You love it even more. Okay, the consensus line is 4 in BettingPros. So we're getting a little bit of a deal there. Yeah, that is on my list. I'm going to write it in because it was on my list and it was the next one that I was going to talk about. So if you're good with it, I'm fine with it. That's Pittsburgh -3.5 to the Texans. I mean, I feel for the Texans a little bit just because they got so much crap what they did on the offseason, and they roll out with this schedule where they just have a horrific schedule.
It's the hardest schedule I can remember for the first 3 games of anybody in the NFL that and I've been watching football for a really long time. I can't remember a time when you have to play against the 2 best teams in football and then go on the road to one of the more difficult places in a team in Pittsburgh who loves playing at Heinz Field.
Yep.
Ouch. I mean, it's not even Bill O'Brien's fault. I mean, you want to hammer the guy, fine, but this 0-3 is almost like an automatic.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, look, my one fear of it is that I legitimately despise backing Tomlin in these situations where you think Tomlin has knocked me out of so many survivor pools in his coaching career, right? Like, this is the type of game where you're going to be like, oh, you just forgot to show up then in this game. But I do think, look, it was my fourth game. So I'm totally with you there. And I'm good to put that in the contest. To be clear, our experts, because I didn't give that for Dallas, because maybe you'll be surprised. Our experts for Pittsburgh, 61% favor Pittsburgh over Houston, so not crazy. But in Dallas, Seattle, it's 53-47 in favor of Seattle. So I'm not crazy, and I'm going to take that one. We do, by the way, Matt and I are 2 of the experts who put in our picks for BettingPros. I'm taking the Cowboys at 4.5, and then on Sunday we're going to be yelling at each other. And
but I don't mind it. I mean, it's just as these 5 picks are so valuable. Like I don't mind you picking in the.
Well, this is why I'm telling you I hate this slate, Matt.
But you can pick as many games as you want on that. So it's like if you go 10-1 and the one game you get wrong happens to be this game. Well, I mean, that's kind of where we are. But so to me, it's got a lot to do with the fact that these 5 picks are so valuable that my gosh, going up against Russell Wilson, just of the 5, we have so many other games we could pick, and this is the game we're going to pick.
Hold on. Sorry, this is the point where my garage door opens. Clinton can probably leave it in because my garage door is under my office, and there's always like this low hum. So I always joke. So I always pause it. Okay. Yeah, that's right. I'm willing to go against Russell Wilson if I'm getting the 4.5 points with the Cowboys because I think they're going to hang with him. So deal with it, but it's fine. We're going to leave it out. You know what else we're going to leave out?
What?
The next one I like, which you are going to despise. I'm just putting this out there. I have more, which I know you would like. And so I could kind of pussyfoot around this and be like, well, Matt will probably like this.
Don't take the Giants.
Oh, you know.
Oh,
Giants.
No. Oh, no.
Plus
3.5
from
Dan,
the 49ers.
I wouldn't bet this game with your money.
I mean, you should. I would give you money and you could bet it.
I would, if you gave me $100, I wouldn't bet this with your money.
Matt,
why in the hell, of all the games, why would you ever pick this game?
Name me 2 starting offensive players for the 49ers that will be playing in this game.
I can't. Kittle. He'll probably
Maybe.
play.
I don't think he's going to play.
He might play, but why would you play him if you're the 49ers? Why?
Correct. Why would you play him if you're
Don't
the 49ers?
play him.
You're right. You shouldn't play him. And you're not going to play anybody else of any consequence. And you're not going to play Bosa or Thomas.
Well, you can't play Bosa. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You're not going to play the guys who are out for the season, okay? You're not going to play either of your starting running backs. You're not going to play your quarterback. You're going to just be throwing nothing out there. You'll probably
and there's no Saquon Barkley for.
Well, I understand, but we talked about this last week with Chicago. There was no Saquon Barkley in that game either, and they still covered because the Giants' offense.
But that's because the offense is garbage for the Bears. You can't go one to the other here. Oh no!
Look! I said when I was making this pick, and again, I've already put this pick in. Actually, I'd like to see what it is right now. Hold on. I would like to see exactly what it is. First of all, I want to see what the consensus line is. The consensus line is still 3.5. So that is where it is. I want to see, out of curiosity, okay. Yeah, San Francisco 62% to 38%. Not overwhelming, not like the Patriots, but that's fine. Look, for me, this is also back-to-back East
This is
Coast.
Contrarian by contrarian. Like by contrarian standards,
I love it.
This is contrarian. This is the puke bowl that you're.
They've got to stay out east. Now, to be fair, they did not go back west. I don't think. I think they stayed somewhere on the East Coast because they played the Jets, and now they're playing the Giants. I don't think they did the travel, but it's back-to-back games on the East Coast in a time that really doesn't work. They have no one, Matt, and even their defense. Putting aside, but all right. First of all, let me make it clear: we're not going to take the game, of course, because we've got to fight. So I'm just saying it. Relax. I'm not trying to talk you into it. Again, as I said, I like one game this week, and it was your number one pick, and that's it. But I don't love this slate. But that would be one of my games if I were doing this by myself, because I really do think their cornerbacks are all injured. They've got decimated on their defense. Decimated on their offense, and the Giants have enough frisky pieces that they can put up few points even without Saquon Barkley. So for me, if I'm getting more into field goal here, I'm taking it. I am betting it. All right, so everybody listening out there can make fun of me on Sunday.
You're betting this?
I'm betting it. Yeah, I'm betting it. I'm not going crazy with it, but I've made a bet on it. I'm willing to roll with that. So that's
I want
where I'm
Nick
going.
Mullins to drop 40 on you.
It wouldn't be the worst bet I've ever made. I'll be honest. All right, go to your next one, Matt. What do you have?
All right, so I've got two plays, and you can tell me which one you want to talk about. I like, and they're both dogs. Detroit plus 5.5 or Chiefs plus 3.5. Which one do you want to talk about?
I actually want to talk about both of them. So start what you're going to do a 2-for-1, which is fine because I'm already at the Giants getting points from the 49ers range of my pick. So let's talk about both of them because I'm interested in the Lions, Matt, because you and I we go back and forth a little bit. We talk about it a little bit before, and we both sort of had this. This is very much the spot where the way you think about sports gambling, classic time where this is a game for the Lions. But the more I dug into it, I got nervous about it. So talk to me a little bit more about it.
I'm way nervous about both these picks, and I was trying to find my fifth one because of my 5, Pats, Steelers, Titans, Chargers, those are my 4. The fifth one is when I was struggling. And so with the Lions, I think the Cardinals win, all right?
Yeah.
But my question is, with backs against the wall, you have to win or at least you have to play competitively because Matt Patricia already has folks saying he should be fired.
Yep.
And there's already this call right now for, complete regime change and completely scrapping everything, pull everything down and start all over again because they tried it with Patricia. It didn't work. This expatriate way hasn't worked. Fire the GM, fire the coach, redo everything. So my concern is they've had back-to-back double-digit leads in week 1 and week 2, and they've blown them both. At some point, do they win that one game like the Celtics did in Game 3 against the Heat, where they blew the lead, but they still hung on to win? So I wonder, do the Lions get the lead and then blow it again, and the Cardinals come back and they win by 4?
Yeah,
and you're catching 5.5.
Yep.
And so I'm with you on being more and more afraid. I think it's gonna be a really public play, and I think it could be 7 by the time kickoff. So I might bet this game with the Lions. For our sake, at 5.5, it's a number, obviously, I don't like.
Correct. But, by the way, can we also talk about the fact that you were you're going to learn something about me, Dan. There are certain Peraltisms. I don't go 5.5. And legitimately,
minus 5.5, I don't.
But, you don't take laying?
I'll take points. I'll take 5.5. You give me points. It's minus 5.5, I don't lay.
We're taking the Patriots with your best bet.
Well, that's different though, because again, it's my team, it's my pay. As I told you when I tweeted you this or texted you this, to me, when it comes to my team and the Patriots, I don't care what that line was.
Got it.
I'm taking the Patriots 6, 7, 9, whatever. The Patriots are winning that game big in my mind.
Kind of like what I do with the Jets, except the opposite way, where I just take whatever. Anyway, all right.
Taking 5.5. I have no problem taking 5.5. It's laying 5.5.
My fault. I misunderstood the Peraltism. Okay.
So the +5 with the Lions is intriguing. It's 6 right now, and it's climbing. So the people are taking the number and they're pushing it up. So the Lions are definitely a live dog here in this game, but I feel like it might be a little bit too public.
Yeah.
And then the contrarian of contrarian plays is Monday night.
Okay, I do want to talk about that one, actually, because I'm more intrigued by that one. And it's funny that you brought that up because I was like, man, I don't even know if this one's going to be worth bringing up. I'd rather bring up the Giants with the 3.5 than saying the Chiefs. Taking the Ravens, which Matt is just like the Ravens, which you are correct. Here's my problem with this. First of all, I'm going to give it on BettingPros. It is still 5.5 with the Cardinals laying 5.5. There is a 6 out there right now, and it is at Fox Bet, which is a little off. The expert consensus for our picks, 76% is taking Arizona, and I am actually on that side now. I was originally thinking Lions. Here's what I think. I just think at this point that Vegas and sportsbooks, I don't think they're properly valuing the Cardinals yet. I don't think they've caught up to what the Cardinals actually are. And kudos to you, Matt, because you liked this team. We talked about it preseason. Mm-hmm. I did not. I did not think that this team was going to be something that was going to make any noise. But they look really, really good. Their defense looks a little better than expected. And I think they're better than bookmakers are giving them credit for. And I think that's going to become apparent pretty soon.
Well, conversely, here's a little little add-on.
Yeah.
I haven't given this out in the Daily Juice yet, but I'm going to do it tonight. Go bet the Cardinals to win the NFC at plus 1,200.
Yeah.
And if you look at the NFC, I'm not saying winning the Super Bowl now because you're dealing with the other side with the Ravens and the Chiefs. But just to win the Super Bowl, if you look at the teams in the NFC and how the Cardinals match up with them at plus 1,200, it's incredible odds, incredible value on the Cardinals there. So sorry to interject, but that's a bet I think people should make right now at plus 1,200 for the Cardinals to win the NFC.
That's a great call, actually. I definitely, people, if the odds are 1,200, I hadn't looked at it, they should do that. Conversely, as I was saying, the Lions just suck. Like, that's the bottom line. Their defense is young and injured. I know they're going to get Kenny Golladay back. I don't care. This is just not the defense. I don't think they're going to be able. I think it's going to be a monstrous day for every significant piece of the Arizona offense. Kenyon Drake, we talked about it. We just had a daily fantasy sports show that we do on Thursdays. Kenyon Drake was a guy that we all loved. Kyler Murray was a guy that we all loved. If you're willing to spend up on quarterback, on wide receiver, do it with DeAndre Hopkins. This is just a game where I think that in the end, this is going to be kind of like the Cardinals are a scary team. So I'm staying away from the Lions, but go to the Chiefs plus 3.5 because I think this is going to wind up being somehow in the DK contest, but go ahead.
So here's Chiefs plus 3.5, and I believe the hook here is a big deal to me.
Yep.
Kansas City doesn't lose these games as underdogs. They have not been a dog in a long time. I forget the actual stat, but it's been like 2 years since they've been an underdog. You have Patrick Mahomes playing in the AFC Super Bowl, because that's what this is. It's the regular season Super Bowl. Everyone, all eyes. I know that you've got Lamar Jackson, and I like the running game a lot, but the problem is if the Ravens get behind, they got a tough time making games up. They have a tough time coming back from deficits. And what do the Chiefs do? That's all they do is come back from deficits. No matter what you put them at, 10, 20, doesn't matter. This team just comes back. The best team in football are the Chiefs, and I'm catching points. I don't care where the game's being played. Plus 3.5, give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, this is going in the contest, Matt.
Okay.
Because it was on my list, and I was like, I'm going to save this one for a little bit down because I think it's crazy. And I know you love the Ravens, and you have been complete like, oh, no. This is, I don't care what they're giving. That's 7.5. I've got no problems taking that whatsoever. You've been uber confident, so I was like, well, you're not going to want it, the Chiefs. But I agree with you. I'm not sure necessarily that they're the best team. I don't know whether or not they're better than the Ravens, but I do know if I'm getting more than a field goal, I'm good with it. So for me right now, you correct me if I'm wrong, we're pretty much in agreement right now at the Pats laying 5.5 against the Raiders, the Titans laying 2.5 to Minnesota, the Steelers laying 3.5 to the Texans, the Chiefs getting 3.5 to the Ravens. The only other, right? We're good on those.
Yeah,
four,
we're good.
Right? All right,
we're
those four are locked. The other one that's under consideration is the Chargers laying 6.5 to the Panthers. Now, that is under consideration. Let's talk through some of these other games, and let's just see whether or not we think there's anything else that we could be missing. How do you feel about the Bears getting 3.5 in Atlanta?
I mean, this is the problem with the Bears because they win a game and everyone's going to be like, here we go. And it's Trubisky. Oh, he's playing great. Look out. Give me a break. It's Trubisky, okay? It's the first start. I don't care. It's one. It doesn't make a difference to me. In my mind, I am not looking at this as like an opportunity where we're saying, yes, this is smart. I'm going, I'm going to fade as much as I can. I'm going to fade the Bears. I can't go near that game.
All right. So for me, this would be one where I knew you wouldn't because I'm not a lunatic. But it would be one where if I'm forced to choose a side, it would be Chicago in this one. And the consensus line, by the way, is down to 3. There's only 3.5 that I see out there. So getting the hook in the DK contest is something that makes a little bit of a difference. I don't really trust Trubisky. And there's no way that I would really be like, if I can find any way to avoid doing this, that I would want to do it. But Atlanta is just so bad. And they may be down Julio Jones, by the way.
Right.
But I agree with you. I just wanted to see, because if you were on the fence about it, I would be willing to talk this one through.
Well, the only other game that I'm on the fence on is the Rams at the Bills.
How do you feel about that one?
Because
so what is the line? That is the Rams getting 1.5 in Buffalo.
Yeah.
By the way, I do want to point out just on that one, 77% of our experts are on Atlanta in that game. If I'm forced to choose a side, I'm taking Chicago at the 3.5. It's 3 again on our consensus. But go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just like last week, right? So last week the Eagles were laying 1.5, and it closed. I guess it opened with the Rams getting. I guess the Rams were open as favorites, and then it flipped, and the Eagles wound up being favorites.
Right.
But the Rams are. This is the tell game for me with LA. So if they can go back to the East Coast on back-to-back weeks and beat the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, have played nobody. Okay,
right.
Miami and New York are not teams. I mean.
By the way, if you are new to this podcast, Matt despises the Buffalo Bills and talks them down all the time.
Yes,
so
I do.
Go ahead.
And I actually had somebody on there because I ripped them on the Daily Juice last night, and somebody emailed me and said, "What's your problem with Josh Allen?" I said, "I got a big problem with Josh Allen. Can't hit the broadside of a barn." But see, so my thing is this: so the Rams have played a higher level of competition. And it goes back to my whole theory about winning on the road with the fact that you can have the communication with McVay and Jared Goff, which clearly worked against the Eagles. So if my theory is right, the Goff's going to play much better this year because no fans on the road. And I don't think this team in Buffalo is all that good. They're good, okay, but the Rams may be the best team in the NFC West, okay? We got to see what happens with Seattle. 49ers are out of the conversation, and the Cardinals are too young to really know exactly what they are only 2 games into the season. But to me, this is a show-me game. The Rams go there and win that game outright. The Rams are going to be in the conversation for everything. I mean, winning it all. I mean, everything. So I'm 50-50 on this, as taking the 1.5 points and going with the Rams.
Yeah, the consensus now is 2.5 for the lines, and the Rams are getting 52% of our bets. So it's pretty much split down the middle. This is not a game I'm going to take. I agree, though, with everything that you're saying. I do think I like the Rams before the season started. I thought they were underrated. I think your point about no fans and McVay being able to talk to Goff, your theory is great. I think that really does make a difference. I think if you're going to Buffalo and you're doing it at a time where there are no fans and it is not freezing, that's the time that you can play in Buffalo. Okay. Yep. Once it gets late, I went to school there. Once it gets late, it's insane. And the fans are nuts, are absolutely nuts. It's a tough place to play. But all that said, I am not quite as convinced that the Bills are as fake as you will forever think that they are. I get that Josh Allen, misses plenty of throws, but I think I'm not willing to say I even like either side on this game for either one to win. I feel like it's toss-up. So I think we're going to wind up going with the Chargers laying 6.5 to the Panthers because I do like it better than everything else. Let's very quickly just touch on the remaining games and just make sure we don't like it. Bengals getting 5.5 from the Eagles.
I mean, the Eagles have to win, but how in the heck can you back Carson Wentz right now?
That's the problem.
I mean, how can you back him?
This has everything. Even if the Eagles come out, and again, they just lost Jalen Reagor again. Even if they come out and they're on fire and they're good, the Bengals are off essentially a mini bye because they played on Thursday. Burrow is going to be a backdoor cover machine this year. That's what you could just see. He just has no fear. He's just going to run around, throw the ball. I could see the Eagles winning this game, and this is sort of the spot where you could buy them. But I can't back Carson Wentz. I can't put one of our 5 coveted picks in for Carson Wentz. So I agree with you there. Washington getting 7.5 from the Browns.
No. Just no.
On either side.
On every level, no. No, I'm not going to trust the Browns. They're at home here. I'll bet the Browns here,
yes.
and I'll take the Browns, but not in this contest. Not knowing that, again, backdoor 7.5 is wide open for the Washington football team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I would take the Browns, like if I'm forced to choose a side, but not in the contest. The Jets plus 10.5 in Indy.
Look, I have a long-standing. I'm not laying double digits in this contest. It's just not worth it in my mind. 10.5 is too many points. I don't care who it is. It's the NFL. It's either a dog or a pass, and I'm not taking that team that's the dog.
And the spread is rising after the Jets announced we will be without any actual players this weekend. I mean, they legitimately announced their whole offense, their offensive line, everything. It doesn't matter. It's too many points. If I'm forced to choose a side, I'm taking the Colts because the Jets are truly abysmal. But I agree with you. It's not a line that I want to go near in this sort of contest. Bucks laying 6.5 in Denver.
Boy, it's a cold weather city with a real hot, warm weather team. And
is it cold in Denver right now?
Yeah. Huh. And Denver, not cold, but it's a lot colder than Tampa.
Sure.
And Tom Brady's record in Denver is horrific. And I mean like capital H horrific. So
Jeff Driscoll's the quarterback, though, right?
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Cortland Sutton's out, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't care. I'm not taking Tom Brady on the road in that building.
Yeah. Either way, I don't want that game whatsoever. I just like to play devil's advocate. Yeah, I agree. I don't like the way the Bucs offense looks right now. I just don't. It just seems out of sort. And again, I talked about this on one of our fantasy podcasts. Jeff Driscoll's going to throw that ball. He don't care. Nope. He definitely is of the point to be like, I'll throw a couple picks.
Home dogs in the NFL. Yeah. Home dogs in the NFL. Not with Brady's record in Denver. No way.
And early on, we talked about this with the Titans, even though we were very clearly on the right side of that game, that Denver just has a way of either winning or covering at least early in the season when they're home. So definitely not a place that I want to go to. And I mentioned it at the start, Packers getting 3.5 in New Orleans. I don't want to go near it. It's not
gun to my head. I'm taking the Saints.
Yep.
Because they're at home, and I think people are a little bit too high on the Packers right now.
And I think Devonta Adams is going to be out here, by the way. So I do think that does make a difference. I think he is. There's no way to know that yet, but he missed practice. I saw a report that said it doesn't look real good for his availability. So, if that makes a difference to you, fine. I still, though, don't. Michael Thomas is also going to be out. It's not. Over a field goal, it's just.
It's a stay away game for me on either side. But I mean, if I had to play it, I'd take the Saints.
Correct. That's where I am. Okay. All right. So this was not that hard. You feel a lot better about this than I do. I feel good about 2 of the picks, and the rest of them, I'm like, okay, I lean that way. But I do. You know what I really like, Matt? I love that I have the Chiefs getting more than the field goal. That's what I'm going to watch that game because there's never going to be a point where I'm going to be like, well, this bet's dead. Like,
right.
This bet.
No, you
right?
can't. Not with the Chiefs. It could be 20. They could be down 20 at halftime, and you could be like, yep, we're good. We're still alive.
All right. So our 5 official picks. And again, follow us on Twitter, Dan Harris 80 at Sports Talk Matt, and go to Matt's live stream Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern, youtube.com/bettingpros. Subscribe, click the notification button. Matt will be talking about it and give player props. Again, it's Thursday. We don't have all the player props, so we're not able to give them here, but we will give them. Matt will give them. I'll give him some of mine. But for our 5 picks, as of right now, again, we may change them, are the Patriots laying 5.5 to the Raiders. We both love that game. The Titans laying 2.5 to the Vikings. We like that game. The Steelers laying 3.5 to the Texans. I think Matt loves it. I like it. Chiefs laying 3.5, getting 3.5, pardon me, from the Ravens. We both have talked ourselves very much into that game. And the Chargers laying 6.5 to the Panthers. Matt likes that game. I am very much I don't really like any other game in this slate. I lean that way, so I'm good to go with it. All right, you feel good about that, Matt?
I do. I like those 5 plays. I do.
All right, man. All right, so this was great. I love doing this podcast because it's just fun. And Matt and I, other than we send each other maybe a couple of minor leans early on to say, hey, I kind of like this game, we use this podcast to discuss it. So that's where, again, go to bettingpros.com because not all the odds. I tried to give the updated odds when I could that shows you what the consensus lines are, and they're going to move. The DraftKings lines lock Wednesday. So they, as Matt had said when we talked about it earlier, they try to predict where it's going before the line is actually there. So usually when they set it, it's not there. They predict where it's going to go. So sometimes you're going to get much better value. Sometimes you get worse value than what we talk about here. And again, you can see which way the experts are going when they're picking the game. And I think you can see the way Matt and I have picked it if you go on bettingpros.com. Check it out. Also, download the Betting Pros app. It is awesome. Actually, most times I just make my picks from there because I can do it, but it tracks your bets. They just updated it a couple of weeks ago. It's really awesome. Again, just download it from the App Store. It's great. All right. That is it for our Week 3 show. It was a good one. I enjoyed it. Remember, check out the live stream on Sunday morning, youtube.com/bettingpros at 11. Matt will give you more information. But until then, or until next week, rest easy and good luck with all your bets.